So good evening. We're back to the Spirits book. We're still on chapter 4 of book 2. And last week we started physical and moral likeness. We went through some questions and we stopped when we were starting. We're going to start discussing twins. So I'm going to ask Philip, can you read for us starting on 211?
Certainly. What causes the similarity of character that so often exists among siblings, especially between twins? The understanding that exists between two spirits who are attracted by similarities of thoughts and ideas and who are happy to be together.
So when we talk about twins, especially lately that you have with artificial fertilization, different methods of artificial insemination and things like that, you had more twins. What you can have twins is two spirits that are connected to each other and have the need to come to a new incarnation together for different reasons. Or it may be two spirits that are, on the contrary, are enemies, that the only way for them to repair, to attempt to repair the relationship is to come very closely connected. So in this first question, Kardec asks about the similarity of characters that we see among some siblings. He goes a little bit more in general, but especially between twins. Again, we know that we are all eternal spirits. This is not our first rodeo here. So we come back surrounded by loved ones and the difficult ones also that we have to readjust. So it's very natural that siblings and especially twins have relationships from the past, positive or negative, that they are given an opportunity to readjust, to repair, or to build by helping each other on this new incarnation. And it's interesting because there are some documentaries, I don't know if any of you saw, one between three twins that were separated at birth and met later and reunited later when they were already older in the 20s, and they had a lot of similar tastes and mannerisms, and some similarities and some not so similar things. But it proved to be a traumatic event. We later learned that one of them committed suicide, not because of the reunion, but because of the difficulties he had in his life. But we see amongst siblings and amongst twins these similarities of thoughts and ideas, and of course similarities, physical similarities. If they come from the same egg, they are what we call identical twins. If they come from different eggs, then they are not identical twins. Okay. Questions, comments here? Okay. Next.
212. In the case of conjoined twins who share some of their organs, are there two spirits or two souls? Yes, but their likeness often makes them seem as though there were only one.
Okay, so these conjoined twins, of course, this is a karma, right? Because for you to be born with a twin sharing some organs, and we've seen cases of the head, we've seen cases of internal organs, heart, and they are always very, very difficult karmas. Surgery nowadays have the ability of successfully separating some of them, not all of them. And maybe Elmo can talk a little bit more about the medical aspect of it. But in cases like that, it's very likely that this is a karma, two spirits that have to go through this experience of being connected to each other in a way that they cannot almost not separate, because they have to go through the experience. As we can make countless suppositions here, but it could be a consequence of being enemies, very difficult enemies, that the only way they can repair the relationship is coming completely connected. Or it could be two spirits that are more evolved, and they choose to come in an incarnation like that to serve as an example, as a trial for the parents, as an experience for the medical field to learn and to make progress on how to deal with those cases. So of course we can never say what's the origins of these conjoined twins, but of course there is always a cause in the origin of it. I don't know if Elmo, you can talk a little bit about the medical advances or how medicine is looking at this today.
I'm not sure how medicine is seeing this today, that those things are done primarily at the special pediatric hospitals. Most of the cases are done at the pediatric level. But it's obvious that medicine has developed very high technical skills and method of creating osmosis and separating major organs that a few years back was absolutely not even conceivable to think about. But the question is as technology, as medicine progress, and I put a question for everyone to think about it, if those two spirits come back to be physically together, should we be separating them?
Ah, very good. Very good, very good.
Yeah, again, we have to analyze what science, what Spiritism tells about science, right? As science progresses, we progress with science. So if science finds a solution for this and can separate, my first reaction is that we should follow science and try to repair, if possible, the same way we are trying to advance on curing diseases that we say in Spiritism that they are karma, but they're not necessarily you have to carry it through your whole life if science and medicine advances enough to repair it. But that's my take on it.
That is my take also, I agree. I think if the spirit were not ready for such an advanced intellectual ability, I don't think it would be doing it.
Yeah.
And I think it's our responsibility to do as much as we can to alleviate suffering in any possible way that we can.
Yeah.
But that is a tough question for a lot of people because because you can call that a disease. Doctor has to cure disease. Can you label that as a disease? It's rough, but I totally agree it's wrong. And I think our responsibility here is to alleviate suffering as much as possible, to give people the best possible, better life condition as much as we can.
Okay. Any other questions, comments here?
Another ethical question that arises is the chance of one discarnate or dying that process is extremely high, let's say 85%. Should we go ahead and try. Those are things that are put out there. They don't expect an answer immediately.
No, but it's
for us to think of the ethical.
No, it's just great. It's
puzzles great. That medicine, as medicine advances, technology advances, you have to think about those things.
Yeah.
But again, I don't expect an answer, just things for us to reflect upon.
Exactly.
Yeah, in terms of what Spiritism tells us, talks about, it just talks about if a pregnancy risks the life of a mother, you should save the baby or the mother, and Spiritism tells us to save the mother because it's already an existing life, right? But in the case of conjoined twins, they are both living. So I don't, I think it's a great question. And again, I don't have an answer, and I think everyone has to make their own choices.
Exactly.
And again, we shouldn't expect Spiritism to answer all the questions, right? As we progress, we face new challenges, and we may look for answers in Spiritism, but we may not find. Okay.
213. Since spirits incarnate as twins due to feelings of sympathy, from where does the hostility that is sometimes felt by twins for one another originate? There is no set rule stating that only sympathetic spirits are incarnated as twins. Unsympathetic spirits may have formed this link to try to work out their differences during a new physical life.
Read the next one.
214. How should we interpret the stories of children fighting in their mother's womb? As a figurative representation of their animosity towards one another, which goes back to times before their birth. People rarely make sufficient allowance for the figurative element in certain statements.
Okay, so in this couple of questions, Kardec asks about the other way around. When you have twins that have hostility towards each other, and we talk a little bit, right? That are, as the spirits call here, unsympathetic spirits that may come as to work out their differences, right? So the figurative representation on them starting their fight in the mother's womb, it is really, it can be a reality in terms, we know that both spirits are unconscious when they are in their mother wombs, probably if they are not evolved spirits. And so the antipathy is generated by their unconscious reaction to being close to one another. It's the reaction that we have that sometimes we see someone, we get close to someone that we feel this difficulty, this rejection of being close to someone else. It's what we can imagine happens with these spirits that are reincarnating together, and they start fighting on the mother's womb, and they are going to have a tough time resolving their differences during their new physical life. Okay, this is all for twins. So if you have any other questions, comments about twins, the last question talks about a different subject. Yes, Danny.
I have more like a comment. I don't know if it's a question, like either coming for unsympathetic or sympathetic spirits, right? There is this physical likeness that is particular to twins. So these, if they come to atone something together, or they're forced to be maybe even physically conjoined, they look at each other and they see themselves like physically. So I wonder if that has a purpose as well, like specifically for the ones who are enemies. Like, because if they love each other, it might be a good thing, like to reflect on each other's love and sympathy. But for the enemies, it may be really hard to see an enemy that looks exactly like you or very much like you. Yeah. So I wonder if that's, designed to be like that.
Great areas for the psychologists, right? I don't know. I think that it may be interesting. I think there is a reason, but how can we analyze the reason and how can we go deeper into that? I think it's more for psychologists than we hear, right? How the likeness will reflect in how we relate to each other. I don't know, Elmo, if you have anything to add there.
Yeah, I don't think it plays a significant role. The likeness is purely genetics, nothing else. But you have to remember that the spirit interprets the vision, it interprets the sight. And if I have a dislike for someone else, the fact that someone looks like me doesn't mean much, but I will see that person as an enemy, regardless how it looks, and perhaps even look at myself in the mirror, find myself good looking, and look at other person, find that person ugly, because again, it's a matter of interpretation of the spirit.
Yeah.
I'm pretty, but he's very ugly, and we look exactly as I like.
Yeah. So Eric is asking here, cases like that where conflicting spirits incarnate as twins, do they have some sort of agreement in incarnate as twins? Depending, it's unlikely that unless, because for you to agree to reincarnate with an enemy as a twin, you would have to be morally elevated. And when you are morally elevated, you are overcoming, you are no longer consider that other spirit as an enemy, right? Because a sign of moral evolution is not to have enemies, not to consider anyone enemy. You can have those that consider yourself an enemy, but that's a different story. Like Divaldo always say, that he doesn't have any enemies, but some people consider him an enemy. So I think that it's possible, but unlikely. That most cases it's in the regular wheel of reincarnation process that they will come as twins for purposes of solving these issues, and this is a decision made by their guardian angels, by the spirits that are in charge of the reincarnation process. But it is possible. Nothing is impossible, right? Like Elmo likes to say, right? Okay.
215?
Oh, yes.
Wonderful. What is the cause of the distinctive character that we observe in each population or ethnic group? Spirits make up different families, formed based on the similarity of their tendencies, which are more or less purified according to their elevation. Each population is a large family made up of sympathetic spirits. The tendency of the members of these families to unite is the source of their similarity that forms the distinctive character of each population. Do you think that good and compassionate spirits would want to be part of a hard and unrefined population? No. Spirits sympathize with the masses in the same manner they sympathize with individuals. They go to the region where they will find the most harmony with inhabitants.
Okay, so when I look at in the populations of the world, in different countries and different regions, you see different characters that are peculiar to that population, right? So, you know, you go to Japan, you have a more organized society, a more educated society with some prejudices against women that are difficult to overcome there. But, you know, they have a more organized and obedient society than other countries. So, you know, you talk about Brazil, you talk about the lack of punctuality, the disorganization, and characteristics that that you see in a country. And what the spirits are trying to tell us here, that you know, it's a combination of you end up in the places that you vibrate with the same vibrations of that region. You are surrounded by spirits that are related to your past, but also we have to remember that we are most of us, the population in the world, we are followers. We are not leaders. So whatever is the customs of the region that we are born, we tend to follow. We, the majority. I'm not talking about everyone. Of course, we cannot put 100%. You have a population, let's say 100%. You have 70% that are followers, and they will follow the customs and the habits of the region, not because they are like that, it's just because it's how it is there. So, you know, you are born in a place like Japan, and you learn from very early age as a child. After the school day finishes, you are supposed to clean your place, to take care of your things, to organize all your things, to put everything in order from the kindergarten. So that becomes a habit, and that becomes a learning for all the spirits that are born there. You know, when you are born in a place that doesn't take care of the surroundings, that doesn't care about the surroundings, you more likely, the majority, will grow up without any cares for the surroundings. Again, the leaders will try to change that, and we always have the leaders in this country trying to make a difference and trying to change. But the majority of us are followers. So we end up adjusting ourselves to the places that we are born, that we are live with. And, you know, and that's why when you go, you know, in a place like New York City, for instance, that is a pot of different people from all around the world. Is not really the US, right, like I used to say, but you have the neighborhoods and the communities that belong to the same origin, right? So you have the Latins, you have the Puerto Ricans, you have the Cubans, you have the Brazilians. They are all in the same, many of them in the same neighborhoods with their own food and with their own shops, because that's how they feel comfortable, and they prefer to be in places where they feel comfortable, and instead of venturing outside. There are very few that like to venture outside. So that's the idea here. You were born for a reason in a specific place. But as we evolve, and again, we have to understand the progress, because in the Middle Ages, the majority of people had never traveled more than 1 day away by foot from where they lived in their whole life. When travel began more actively, and migration became more common in the past 200 years, let's say, you are having more and more of the mixture of races, mixture of habits, mixture of people, that you can only, if you project that for 500 years for now, you see that people will have much less difficulty in adapting to different places because we will have an universal adaptability. I'm not saying that we are going to have a one boring culture all around the world, but we will have a better adaptability, universal adaptability to where we go. Okay. So comments here, questions? Yes.
Yeah, so outside of the most common causes being economics, opportunities, and persecution, that would be another reason for migrations.
What to?
Someone who doesn't feel like they fit in that specific environment, they are an outcast. Besides, of course, the economics, the opportunities, and the persecutions.
Yeah, I think there are several reasons, right? It's very difficult for someone to move away from where they are if it's not for a better opportunity, for being persecuted, for either for political, race, or sexual preferences. So, you know, if you are comfortable in the place that you were born and you live there well and you are surrounded by love and care and everything fits, it's unlikely that you are going to leave the place, the majority of us, right? But we end up moving because of lack of opportunities and the other reasons that you mentioned. So out of curiosity, is really a big minority, right? I don't know if you think differently.
You know, I'm thinking of individuals who just never feel comfortable in their place of origin, and it's not, and they end up migrating not for those three major reasons. And they look for a place. I'm questioning here: are they looking for a place where they feel more, where they feel to belong more?
Absolutely. We try to find places where we fit, right? Nobody likes to not fit. So that's why you see people, and you gave the example, right, of a college on Sunday of people arriving at the college from different backgrounds, and then after few days, few weeks, you already have groups formed of similar tastes and affinities. So you expand these to populations and you find the same thing, right? Because it's just human nature, right?
Yep.
But I think that as humankind progresses, better opportunities will open for this type of migrations for reasons, for different reasons, not only persecution or better opportunities of work or things like that. You meet, when you are in a place like New York, you meet a lot of people that came from outside looking for better opportunities or to escape from an oppressive family, oppressive society, oppressive political regime. So here becomes a melting pot, as they call it, right? Of people of different origins and different tastes, and it works, right? So if you think of projecting this to the future, you can imagine that the future is going to be, more like New York and less like, a place in the Middle East here, Mid-East here, that has only, only a white neighborhood, a black neighborhood, and not much mix, right? Yes, Carol.
Yeah, I concur. I always feel the most comfortable in either California or New York, being from the Midwest. And when I visit, usually once a year, I can't wait to get back to New York. I mean, that's just how it is. I don't know. I love it here, and it's so enriching. It expect there would be a day of ease at all, but there's great diversity, great challenges, great opportunities, and it makes for a fantastic life, in my opinion, for my life. I'm only saying that about me. I would never generalize about anyone else, but that's sometimes how it is. Yeah. No accounting for it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's it's how many people feel. I don't know why. What do you feel there when you go to your place of origin that makes you wanting to leave? I don't know if it's and you don't need to share that, but I think that's what happens to many of us when go to places of origin. We left for some different reasons, and the reasons are still there, right? So we go back, and things don't change, right?
Right. Yeah. It's basically, I think, lacking the diversity and lacking the intellectual challenge and even the spiritual challenge. Really, it's very flat to me, flatlined almost. Terrible to say, but that's how.
But again, it's that's we moved going to the beginning as primitives, right? We start moving into cities because we were looking for diversity, we're looking for different opportunities, different people, and that's how cities became to be what they are today, right? In terms of especially the big cities, the modern cities. I'm not talking about the big cities in some places. Big cities are just a reunion of a lot of people of the same origins. But as we evolve, I tend to think that we'll see more places like New York, London, or Paris than places very homogeneous, I think. But again, it's my guess. Okay, anyone else here? Okay.
216. In its new existence, does the spirit preserve any traces of the moral character exhibited in its former lives? Yes, but it changes as it improves. Its social standing may also change greatly in successive lives. After being a master in one existence and becoming a slave in another, their tastes are altogether different, and it is difficult to recognize them. Since it is the same spirit, there may be certain similarities between the manifestations of their character in successive lives, but these manifestations reflect the change in conditions and habits peculiar to each new corporal life until the character has improved and completely changed. People who were once arrogant and cruel can become humble and humane through repentance and effort.
Okay, so when we talk about a new existence, a new reincarnation, remember that we preserve our moral evolution comes with us always. We never lose the moral qualities we achieve on our evolutionary path. The intellectual abilities is what is different, and we are going to see that later. But the moral qualities come with us, and as we are always progressing, it's it's fair to say that what we are today is better than what we were in our previous incarnations. So now, when we go from, as the spirits say here, from a master in one existence to become a slave in another, of course, as we are facing different situations and we are learning different ways of life in that place that we are, you see some differences in taste, some difference in behaviors, but you won't see a spirit regressing in their moral evolution. So when the spirit says here, people who were once arrogant and cruel can become humble and humane if they come with in a challenging environment, yes. But people who are humble and humane cannot become arrogant and cruel in a new incarnation. They were not humble and humane to begin with if they become arrogant and cruel in a new incarnation. Because as I always joke, you don't lose your patience once you either have it or you don't. So as we become more evolved morally, we are bringing this moral evolution with us in every incarnation. We are adapting ourselves to the life we are living and the region and the surroundings, so that you may see spirits completely different in the way that they behave in terms of the surroundings they live in, but the moral qualities will be there, and you can see that manifesting in the spirit. So you study you read the books of Emmanuel through his evolution from 2,000 years ago to 50 years later, to Hail Christ, to Renunciation, and you see the characteristics of a spirit that is evolving, that is become better in terms of moral qualities, in going through different situations, completely different lives, and adapting to their lives. From a Roman senator in 2,000 years ago, to a slave in 50 years later, to a priest in Renunciation. So different environments, different conditions, but a moral evolution that you see through the stories that he narrates. Okay, it's an important concept for us to remember, right? That if you see someone that is arrogant and cruel, as they say here, that's the best version of themselves. They were not less arrogant and cruel previously, they were more, and they're already improving. Believe it or not, sometimes it's hard to believe, right? We look around and you see, wow, this is the best version of this person. Wow, imagine before. Okay, questions, comments? Okay.
217. Does a person preserve any traces of his or her physical nature from previous lives? When the body is destroyed, the new one has no connection to the old one. However, the spirit is reflected in the body, and despite the body only being matter, it is modeled based on the capacities of the spirit. Therefore, the latter imprints a specific character that is most visible in the face, especially in the eyes, which have been called the true window to the soul. In short, the face reflects the soul more than the rest of the body. An extremely ugly face can even be attractive when it is the outer shell of a good, wise, and humane spirit. On the other hand, a handsome and beautiful face may not trigger any agreeable feelings or may even incite repulsion. At first sight, it may seem that only strong, healthy bodies could serve as the envelopes for good spirits. Yet every day we see virtuous and superior people with deformed bodies. Without the existence of any distinctive likeness between them, the similarities of tastes and inclinations may bestow a family likeness upon the physical body, successively embodying the same spirit. As the body housing the soul in a new incarnation does not have any essential connection with the one it has left, it may even belong to another race. It would be illogical to assume a series of lives from a likeness that may only be coincidental. Nevertheless, a spirit's qualities often modify the body used for its manifestations and give a distinctive look to the face, even in a general manner. This is how hints of nobility and dignity may be found even under the humblest shell. The attempt to disguise the immorality of an individual with luxurious clothing often fails. Some individuals who have climbed up from the lowest standing manage to adopt the habits and manners of the higher ranks with little effort, as if it were natural, while others, despite their advantages of birth and education, always seem to be out of place in refined society. How can this be explained other than as a reflection of a spirit's past lives?
Okay, this is a very interesting subject that we have to reflect and analyze here, because we know that our physical body is formed by our spiritual body, by the perispirit. So I leave this physical body behind, I go back to the spiritual world, and I look exactly how I looked in my past incarnation. As I prepare for a new reincarnation, my perispirit will start losing, as the process starts, will start losing the resemblance or the appearance of the previous incarnation and start adapting to the new physical body that I will inherit from my parents, right? With the genes and the DNA and everything from the new parents that can be from a different race, that can be from a different region. So it is very unlikely that I'll have any resemblance with a previous incarnation. But again, it's the same spirit. So we have to think that the spirit, by imprinting on the perispirit that will reflect in the physical body his or her characteristics, it will reflect in the new physical body, not in the sense that we will look like the old physical body, the previous one, but it may reflect in how this physical body, how the spirit behaves in this new physical body. And that's what the spirits were trying to say here when they went to the extremes of an ugly face that can be attractive. And when we think about the book Missionaries of the Light, one with the chapter that they go to the reincarnation ministry in Nosular, and André Luiz meets different cases of spirits that are preparing to reincarnate, and this lady asks for her physical body to be changed, for her not to be as pretty as they were planning, because she wants to, with the beauty of the physical body, would make her life more difficult in terms to achieving or what she wanted to achieve. She wanted to be neutral. She wanted to be not beautiful, not ugly, because both extremes are always difficult. But if you are, in the crowd, you don't call the attention of anyone in the crowd. It made it easier for her. But when someone that has, let's say, she has a loved one in the sense of a sympathetic spirit, not in the sense of a possible partner, but let's say a sibling, a previous life, that they are very connected, and they come in different families, different places, and they meet when they are, let's say, in their 20s for the first time. It doesn't matter how they will look at each other and find beauty, inside beauty at each other, right? Because that's what emanates from that spirit to the other spirit. The vibrations that connect combine for them to go beyond the physical appearances. So physical appearances, in the end, are important in the world we live, yes, and we should take care of our physical body in the best way it can serve us, it can be useful to us, and you know, depending on on where we work, it can require different behaviors, different ways of dressing, and etc. But you know, you think of a Chico Xavier, you think of a Mother Teresa, and you see beautiful spirits there, hidden in bodies that are definitely not considered to be, according to our standards, beautiful or handsome or anything like that. But what stays behind is the work, the mission, the contribution, not how they looked, right? There is this famous joke of a meeting between, I believe it was Jane Mansfield and Einstein, right? Then she told Einstein, let's have a kid together. Imagine a kid with my looks and your intelligence. And Einstein responded, let's not. Imagine a kid with my appearance and your intellect. So, you know, you see that appearances are important, yes, relatively where we live. But in the end, what really counts is the work that we do, and the bodies that we use and we have in this incarnation serve for us to make the best use of the opportunity that we have in this incarnation. So we bring with us what we are as spirits. And in the comment by Kardec, he talks about the mobility, where someone's humble that goes to a place that is more luxurious and immediately feel at home there, right? And the other way around, people that go and cannot fit anyway, because that's how what we bring with ourselves. The birth and education plays a role, but the spirit itself is, and what it brings, play also a very important role on where we fit and where we find ourselves placed in this new incarnation. Okay. Comments? Yes, Dani.
So my comment about the twins looking at each other and being very sometimes identical or very similar to each other physically, that's what it came from, more about related to this question, is like the physical appearance is important, right, for that, for our lives here. So I wonder, my thought was like having the same, sometimes identical physical appearances, having that, is this really relevant in how they're going to solve the issues they have to, or continue some very beautiful friendship, and they decided to come from the same egg, right? From that mother, from that father, and just one egg that divides exactly the same. So it was not, I wasn't thinking more about the psychological side when you responded. It was more related to this, like the purpose that it might play in the continuation of that, you know, relationship as enemies or as deep friends.
Yeah, again, when they say, the spirits say here that what we're going to see is beyond the physical appearance, right? We're going to see the soul, and that's what really counts in the end. Because, you know, you sometimes you can be deceived by the looks, but it doesn't last long, right? Both ways, right? When we meet very beautiful people or people that are not pleased to the eyes, but eventually when you know them better, the idea you make of them changes according to how they behave and how they are in their in their life. So, you know, applying that to twins, I think is the same, right? The same thing as all of us. I don't think there is any difference. It's only that the fact that they came from the same womb and they are together since the beginning, so they have more opportunities to build the connection or to repair the connection in a sense, right?
Okay. I think that the blood ties plays a major role because you almost feel compelled to love your brother and sister because you have that blood tie. You feel compelled to love our siblings, our parents, and vice versa because of that blood tie. They actually saw that on Channel 13 some time ago. They had a very eloquent study done in one of the Scandinavian countries, I believe it was Denmark, in which they concluded that love indeed makes us look at the person that we look and find them prettier than what is the conventional way of thing. So indeed, if you love someone, you find that person prettier just because you love that person. That was a study, a conclusion that study, a very eloquent study, a very long study, concluded, I believe it was done in Denmark. If that is a fact, and I personally believe it is, for the positive, I think the inverse would be also the dislike, the hate would make us look at someone and find that person less handsome or good looking than the reality really is. Because again, the spirit interpret the vision, what it says. So I think in the case of twins, the blood ties plays a major role in trying to make them to resolve the issues. But I don't think, personally, I don't think that the fact that they look alike will play a role on it.
Yeah. Thanks, Elmo. We have 6 minutes, so we're not going to move to the next item. And I'm going to ask Elmo to expand on this idea of the perispirit. How do you think it works in terms of a spirit, a new perispirit, a new physical body, and how this connection is made? If you have any additional comments there, Elmo.
Yeah, this first thing that I have to think about is that the natural laws will not going to be derailed, right? And the genetics will prevail in the formation of that new body. That's the most important thing. Now, we also know, and we know from the reincarnation of Sigismund, that the spirits in charge of assisting the reincarnated spirit is actually able to select the sperm that will fertilize that egg. And that is in order to respect the genetics, because if that specific sperm is the one who carries the best genetic material for the necessities of that spirit, they will select. But again, respect the laws of genetics always, right? And from that point on, when the fecundation takes place, when that sperm penetrates that egg, now it's oogenetics. Now it's oogenetics are going to form that physical body. And of course, it is the perispirit that molds that physical body in accordance with the laws of genetics. Meaning, if two men and a woman, let's say, of Japanese, without ever mixing them together, that offspring will have to look Japanese. It will not look Chinese, it will not look Vietnamese. it will have to look Japanese. But the perispirit may create a little differentiations, may carry some degree and carry some differentiations in there, but still we will have all the characteristics of the Japanese human, the Japanese race. And that's why not all the Japanese, although they look much alike, they're not exactly the same. And put over here, the hypothesis that is almost impossible these days to be pure race. Always Japanese and Japanese, Japanese and Japanese, or if you want to take Nigerians and or if you want to take Brazilians, which is impossible, that's an exclusion. You don't have pure Brazilian, that's a craziness, okay? And any other reason, just took Japanese because they are more likely to interbreed a lot. But even among them, there is a minimum degree of differentiation, and that may be due to the perispirit.
Yeah, once it's born, how the spirit behaves in the new physical body looks like the parents, but the soul is an eternal spirit, right? And will carry the characteristics of the eternal spirit, right?
Yeah. Now, if that spirit born of pure Japanese in the next incarnation would have to migrate and be born somewhere else, let's say in the Philippines, it will carry the traces associated with the parents in the Philippines. Nowadays, even hard to say, because if say born in the United States, or if being born in the United States, sons of Brazilians, mother and father, so it's not more location anymore. It's really so from whom, not where, these days.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you all. For what we have this weekend, it's a long weekend, the last summer weekend here. I hope you enjoy. But what we have is on Saturday, because Monday is Labor Day, our good friend Daniel Santos from the Spiritist Society of Baltimore going to be talking about the necessity of labor. This Saturday at 11 a.m., the Spiritist Talk series of the United States Spiritist Federation. Our study on Sunday is chapter 4 of the book Liberation in a Strange City. Okay, Sunday at 11 a.m. And our book club resumed yesterday. Unfortunately, nobody decided to join Daniela, so we'll try again next Wednesday. Book club we are going to study chapter 19 and 20 of the book And Life Goes On next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Okay. Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Sure. Infinite Creator, Great Spirit, we give thanks for the opportunity to be together this evening for our study of the Spirits book. We're talking about chapter 4, book 2, and we have referenced the topics of twins and conjoined twins. And we are grateful for the study in which we have taken a closer look at these topics. We have learned that twins are a close connection at birth, and that this can be either positive or negative. Indeed, a time for a readjustment period. Conjoined twins are the two spirits that need to go through a particular close physical connectedness, and there is always a cause for this. We preserve our moral qualities through our incarnations, and we improve and we never regress, thankfully. In the moral aspects, we evolve and adapt to regions in which we are born and our surroundings, which can be variable. We realize that the body and even the appearance is important. It is the vehicle for which our soul, our spirit, comes through and can take us through the opportunities that we need to go through. Perhaps we will be able to accomplish our goals through a modified appearance or even an enhanced appearance. The perispirit works with the law of genetics, and we are learning a lot more about this through our scientific discoveries. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the helpers, the healers, the mentors who are with us, guiding us. They are inspiring us to keep our thoughts elevated and our hearts open as we receive and study these teachings, and as we learn more and more each week. We are truly grateful for the opportunity and for the teachers who are presenting the material. May we continue throughout the week with our prayers, with our studies and our mindfulness. May we share what we have learned through our discernment with others who are receptive and willing to receive our thoughts and discussions. We pray that we may receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within our hearts and minds, and that we may keep these warmth and these currents of vibration high, so that we can go through our world not only in peace, but we can be of greater service to others, to our family, friends, and our loved ones. And as we close this portion of the meeting this evening, may we receive the protection and the safety, and may we go forth to our loved ones, family, friends, and others who are near and dear to us. And as we close, may we remind ourselves to be beacons of light. May we go forth now in peace and in gratitude. So be it.